I never thought a simple Tinder date would flip my entire world upside down. Honestly, I didn't even want to go out that night. It was a Thursday. I was exhausted after work, and the last thing I wanted was awkward small talk over overpriced drinks. But then Emily messaged me. Her profile wasn't like the usual filtered try-hard stuff. She had this natural smile, messy auburn hair, freckles across her nose, and a kind of gentle confidence in her eyes. Her bio said, "Looking for honesty, good food, and someone who doesn't ghost." That alone made me swipe right. So when she suggested we meet at a small Italian place downtown, I agreed. And man, from the second she walked in, I was done for. She looked exactly like her pictures, but better. Like the room shifted a little when she stepped inside. "Mark?" she asked, smiling like she already knew I was trouble. "That's me," I said, standing up so awkwardly I nearly knocked over the water glass. We hit it off instantly. No weird pauses, no forced jokes. She was funny, sarcastic, smart in that effortless way. We talked about everything: movies, work, food, childhood stories. At one point, she laughed so hard she covered her face, and I thought, God, I want to see that again. The date ran longer than planned. We were there nearly 3 hours before we even realized it. When we stepped outside, the air was cool and the city lights were reflecting off the wet pavement. She looked up at me, biting her lip slightly. "I had a really good time," she said. "Me too, like, unexpectedly good." She laughed. "Is that your way of saying you thought this would suck?" "No, I mean," I stuttered, making her laugh harder. She walked closer, stood on her toes, and kissed my cheek. "You're cute when you panic." I swear my heart did a double backflip. We said goodnight, and I floated home like some idiot in a rom-com. I kept replaying the night over and over. Her smile, her jokes, the way she kept brushing her hair behind her ear when she got excited. When I walked through the door, my dad was in the kitchen, heating leftovers. He worked late shifts, so we didn't overlap much, but he looked unusually awake. "You're home late," he said, raising an eyebrow. "Went on a date." "Oh?" he asked. "What's her name?" "Emily, and she's great, Dad." He smirked. "You sound like you mean that." "I do." He asked a few more questions. Where we went, what she was like. And I answered all of them with this stupid grin on my face. Finally, he patted my shoulder. "Good for you, son, really." It was one of those rare, wholesome dad moments. Nothing special, but it warmed me anyway. I went to bed feeling lighter than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Emily. "I want to see you again. Tonight, my place, I'll cook." My stomach flipped. I typed back instantly. "Absolutely. Just text me the address." When the message came through, I blinked. The address was in a nice suburban neighborhood. Familiar, actually. Not because I'd been there, but because my dad had a close friend who lived like 2 streets over. He used to take me there when I was younger. Still, nothing weird. I showed up that evening with a bottle of wine I pretended to know something about. The house was small but cozy, lights warm, curtains half open. I knocked. Emily opened the door, wearing a soft sweater and jeans, hair tied up casually. "Hey," she said, smiling wide. "Come in." The whole place smelled like garlic and basil. She led me to the kitchen, poured wine, and kissed my cheek again, this time lingering a little longer. We talked while she cooked. It felt intimate, comfortable, like we'd known each other longer than 24 hours. At one point, she excused herself to grab something from the hallway closet, leaving me alone in the kitchen. I glanced around, taking in the little details, the framed photos, the key bowl, the mail on the counter, and then I froze. A picture frame on the shelf. A wedding photo. Emily, in a white dress, standing next to a man I recognized, my father. My throat closed, my chest tightened. I stared at the photo, unable to breathe. Before I could move, before I could even think, I heard keys jingling at the front door. The lock clicked. "Em, I'm home early," my dad's voice. My father stepped into the hallway, and the moment his eyes landed on me, everything stopped. My dad froze in the doorway, like he'd been punched in the chest. His eyes went wide, then darted from me to the kitchen, to the sound of Emily's footsteps approaching behind me. Mark, she called softly, not realizing what was happening. Did you find... Then she stepped into the hallway. She saw me first, then the photo in my hands, then my dad. Her whole body locked up. The color drained from her face so fast it looked like someone pulled a plug. My dad swallowed hard. Emily, you didn't tell me you were having company. She didn't answer. She didn't breathe. None of us did. I felt like the floor tilted beneath me. My mouth was so dry I couldn't even form words. When I finally did, my voice cracked. What is this? My dad looked like he aged 10 years in 3 seconds. Emily looked like she was about to faint. Mark, she whispered, I can explain. Explain? I laughed, this wild, broken sound that didn't even feel like mine. Emily, you're married to my dad. What the hell is going on? My dad ran a shaking hand through his hair. This isn't what it looks like. Oh, really? I snapped. Because it looks exactly like that. Emily stepped closer, hands trembling. Mark, please, just hear me out. Please. I backed away like she was fire. Don't touch me. She flinched like I slapped her. My dad turned to her, voice low and tense. You should have told him. She glared at him with this mix of anger and panic. Told him? You should have told him. You think this is all on me? My head was spinning. The room was spinning. How long? I choked. How long have you two been married? Emily closed her eyes. 3 years. 3? I staggered back. Dad, you got married and didn't tell your own son? His jaw tightened. I had my reasons. What reasons? I shouted. Jesus, you have a whole wife and you act like you live alone. You never even mentioned her. Emily's voice cracked. Mark, it's not what you think. Oh? Then please explain what the hell I'm supposed to think when I go on a date with a woman who turns out to be my stepmother. She stood there shaking, eyes glistening. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. I barked out another broken laugh. No kidding. My dad stepped forward, palms raised. Just calm down and sit. Don't, I snapped, jerking away. Don't treat me like a kid. You lied to me. I didn't lie, he said. I just didn't tell you. That is lying, Emily suddenly burst out. We're separated. Those 2 words cut through the air like a blade. Both my dad and I stared at her. What? I asked. She looked between us, tears finally spilling over. We're separated. We've been separated for 7 months. We just haven't finalized anything legally yet. My dad muttered through clenched teeth. Emily? No, she snapped, turning to him. He deserves to know the truth. My heart hammered. Separated? Why didn't either of you say that from the start? My dad turned away, shoulders tense. Emily spoke first. Because it's messy, she whispered, and painful, and complicated, and I didn't want to drag you into it. I exhaled shakily, trying to process anything at all. So you went on a date with me, knowing I had no idea? I didn't know you were his son, she cried. I swear I didn't. I didn't even see your last name until after the date, on your Instagram tag. And even then I wasn't sure. I hoped it was just a coincidence. My stomach dropped. I remembered she'd asked about my last name during dinner. I didn't think anything of it. When did you know for sure? I asked. She hesitated. Too long. Earlier today, she admitted softly. My voice rose again. And you still invited me over? She looked like she was physically breaking apart. I was going to tell you tonight. I swear, Mark. I didn't mean for you to walk into this. My dad finally faced me. She's telling the truth, he said. We are separated. It's just complicated. I shook my head slowly. Why keep it a secret? Why hide a whole marriage? He sighed, defeated. Because I didn't want you to judge me, or her. I'm not judging you, I said. I'm judging the fact that you kept me in the dark about something this huge. Emily wiped her face. Mark, I'm sorry. I swear to God I never meant to hurt you. For a moment all 3 of us stood in silence, the air thick, suffocating. Then I whispered, voice breaking, So what now? Neither of them had an answer. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. "Mark, wait," Emily called. But I didn't. I walked out, heart pounding, head on fire, my entire reality twisted backwards. I started the car, gripping the wheel until my knuckles whitened. Before I could drive away, my dad rushed outside and knocked on my window. "Son," he said, voice cracking, "there's something else you need to know." I lowered the window slowly. He swallowed hard. "It's about why we separated." He hesitated, and then said, "Emily wasn't the one who wanted to end things. I was." I stared at my dad through the half-open window, rain starting to patter against the car roof. His face was pale, tight, like he'd been swallowing something painful for months. "You?" I echoed, barely understanding. "You ended it?" He nodded once, slow, heavy. "I didn't love her the way she deserved," he said quietly. "Or maybe I did, but not in a way that made sense anymore. I don't know. I just knew the marriage wasn't working, and I thought ending it would be the kindest thing in the long run." I blinked at him, stunned. "But you never told me any of this," I said. He let out a long, exhausted breath. "Because I didn't want to drag you into my failure. I didn't want you looking at me differently. Not after everything with your mom." My chest tightened. My mom had left when I was 10. Not because of my dad, but because she'd fallen in love with someone else. Dad had always carried that weight like a scar that never healed. "So, instead," I said bitterly, "I find out by accidentally dating your wife." "Separated wife," he corrected weakly. "Dad," I snapped, "that doesn't make it better." He flinched, then leaned closer to the window. "Mark, you didn't do anything wrong." "Neither did she," I muttered, "but I feel like I did." He exhaled shakily. "I know, but listen, Emily isn't some villain here. She's a good person. She tried, we both did. It just didn't work." A silence hung between us, thick, painful. "And you're sure it's over?" I finally asked. My dad hesitated. That hesitation said everything. "Dad," he lowered his head, "I'm not sure of anything anymore." My stomach dropped. Great. Fantastic. Exactly what I needed. More emotional chaos. "I shouldn't have come home early," he murmured. "I didn't expect this." "Neither did I said. He stepped back from the car slightly, shoulders slumped. "Just don't hate her, Mark, and don't hate me. We never meant for you to get hurt." I shut my eyes for a moment. Everything hurt. Everything was confusing. Everything was way too big for my brain to process in a single night. "I need time," I said. "I know." He stepped away as I rolled the window back up. But before I could shift gears, I saw Emily standing at the front door, watching with this hollow, crushed expression, like she was torn between running after me and collapsing on the floor. I looked away and drove off. I didn't go home. I drove around aimlessly for nearly an hour, lights and streets blurring past me. Eventually, I ended up at a 24/7 diner, the kind with buzzing neon signs and sticky tables that always smelled faintly of burnt coffee. I slid into a booth and dropped my head into my hands. How could everything go so wrong so fast? A waitress poured water in front of me. "You look like you need pie." I didn't even argue. "Yeah." She brought cherry pie. I didn't taste any of it. My mind replayed everything. Emily's smile on the date, the wedding photo, my dad's face when he saw me standing in his wife's house, the raw hurt in Emily's voice, the hesitation in my dad's, separated but not divorced, dating but not free from the past, me, caught in the middle of a marriage I never even knew existed. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. "Emily, please just text me so I know you're safe." Another buzz. "Emily, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And another. "Dad, come home when you're ready. I'll be up." I turned the phone face down. I didn't answer either of them. Around 3 a.m., I finally drove home. The house was dark except for a single light in the kitchen. My dad must have left it on for me. I headed straight to my room, but I couldn't sleep. My dad's voice kept echoing in my head. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. Around 4:30 a.m., exhausted but wired, I grabbed my phone again. Emily had sent one last message. "Emily, please, just let me explain the rest. I owe you that much." I stared at it for a long time. Then, God knows why, I typed back, me. Tomorrow, public place, neutral ground. She answered instantly. Emily, yes, anytime, anywhere. The next day we met at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. When I walked in, Emily was already there, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked tired, smaller somehow. When she saw me, her eyes softened with something between relief and guilt. Mark, she whispered. Just talk, I said, sitting down. Tell me everything. She nodded. And then she told me the one thing I never expected to hear. Your dad didn't end the marriage because he stopped loving me, she said softly. He ended it because he thought I was in love with someone else. I frowned. Someone else? Who? She looked straight into my eyes. You. My brain short-circuited. Me? I repeated, almost laughing because it sounded insane. Emily, we didn't even meet until a few days ago. She nodded slowly. I know, but your dad didn't mean literally you. He meant the idea of you. I stared at her, completely lost. She took a shaky breath. Let me explain. When I met your father, I knew he had a son. He talked about you all the time, how proud he was, how smart you were, how you were the one thing in his life that had gone right. I always admired that. I loved how much he loved you. I swallowed hard. But over time, she continued softly, he started feeling like I cared more about your well-being than his. He thought I compared him to you, that I looked at you like some ideal version of what he could never be. My stomach twisted. That's ridiculous. I know, and I told him that, repeatedly. But he had insecurities he never dealt with. He carried guilt, fear, old wounds from your mom leaving. And sometimes, even love isn't enough to clean up the mess someone else left behind. I looked down at my hands, trying to process every word. So, he thought you were in love with me, I said quietly. She nodded. But I wasn't, she said. I mean, not then, not in any real way. I'd never even met you. I only knew stories of you. But he convinced himself that he was competing with someone who wasn't even there. That's messed up, I whispered. She sighed. We tried therapy. We tried time apart. Nothing worked. He told me he needed space, and he thought separation would protect both of us. But deep down, he was scared of losing me, of losing you, of choosing wrong. I shook my head slowly, feeling a strange mix of anger, sorrow, and something I couldn't name. And then we matched on Tinder, I murmured. She gave a heartbroken half-smile. Yeah, and I swear to you, Mark, I didn't know. I didn't connect the dots. I studied her face. The exhaustion, the sincerity, the pain, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I actually believed her. But believing didn't make it any less impossible. And now, I asked, are you in love with me now? Her breath hitched. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her hands, twisting the ring she still wore, even though the marriage was falling apart. Finally, she whispered, I don't know. My heart slammed against my ribs. I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what's real and what's projection and what's just loneliness or relief or connection. She looked up, eyes shining. But when I met you at the restaurant, something clicked. Something that hasn't clicked in a long, long time. I leaned back, stunned. She continued, voice growing small again. And I hate myself for it. Because you're his son, and he's a good man, and this shouldn't have happened. And I should have walked away the moment I recognized your last name. I should have protected you both. Her voice broke, but I didn't. And that's on me. I didn't know what to say. Every possible response felt wrong. Finally, I asked, so what do you want from me now? She shook her head. Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted you to know the truth. I want you to heal. I want your dad to heal, and I'll stay away if that's what you need. Her voice trembled again. But if you ever want to talk, if you ever want closure or clarity or anything, I'm here. For a moment, we just sat there, two people tied together by something neither of us asked for. Then she added, and Mark, your dad isn't angry with you. He's scared. He thinks he ruined everything. I ran a hand over my face. I don't even know how to face him. You don't have to decide today, she said. Take your time. There's no right way to handle this. I nodded, numb and overwhelmed. She stood up slowly, as if every movement took effort. I'm going to go, she said gently. You don't owe me anything. Not forgiveness, not contact, not closure, nothing. She picked up her bag, hesitated, then leaned in just long enough to whisper, I'm sorry, Mark. Truly. She walked toward the door, but just before she stepped outside, she turned back and said something that would haunt me for days. For what it's worth, if I'd met you first, everything would have been different. And then she left. When she was gone, I just sat there, staring at the empty seat across from me. My chest felt tight. My mind was loud and quiet at the same time. I had no idea what to do, no idea what to feel. All I knew was this: the situation wasn't over, not even close. Because when I got home, my dad was waiting at the kitchen table, and next to him was a packed suitcase. My dad didn't look up right away. He just sat there at the kitchen table, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together, staring at the floor like it had personally betrayed him. The suitcase sat beside him, neat, zipped, final. I stood in the doorway, frozen. Dad? What are you doing? He exhaled shakily, then finally met my eyes. I'm giving you space, he said. Or maybe I'm giving both of us space. I don't know. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. I blinked. I never asked you to leave. You shouldn't have to ask. His voice cracked. A father is supposed to protect his son, not drop a bomb on his life. I took a step forward. You didn't know this would happen. No, he agreed, but the mess that led to it, that was mine. I made choices you didn't know about. I hid things I shouldn't have hidden, and because of that, you walked into something no child, no person should ever walk into. He rubbed his temples. I hurt you. I hurt her. And I'm tired, Mark. I'm so damn tired. He looked up again, eyes glassy. I didn't leave because I was angry. I left because I didn't know how to face myself. The guilt in his voice was painful. He wasn't running away. He was breaking, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel anger, just grief. Where will you go? I asked quietly. He gave a small, sad shrug. A motel. Maybe your uncle's place. I don't know. Just for a few days. Silence settled between us again. Then he added, I talked to Emily. My heart clenched. And? She told me everything. What she told you. What she felt. What she didn't feel. He inhaled shakily. And I realized something. I waited. He continued. She never loved you, not the way I feared. She cared about you the way a partner should care about someone's child. I twisted that into something else. That's on me, not her. I sank into the chair opposite him. Dad, why didn't you talk to me before about any of this? He looked down at his hands. Because I didn't want you to see me fail again. The words hit hard. Dad, you think being human is failing? He laughed softly, this hollow, sad laugh. I think disappointing the people I love is failing, and I seem to be good at that. I leaned back, exhausted. I'm not disappointed in you, I said. I'm just confused, angry, shocked, but not because you're a bad father. He looked up sharply. You're a good man, I said. You just made a mess, a big one, but I don't hate you. I never did. His eyes filled instantly, like he'd been holding it back for years. You should, he whispered, but I don't. He swallowed hard, then wiped his face. We sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he whispered, What about Emily? My chest tightened. I don't know. Do you feel anything for her? The question stung, but not because it was wrong, because it was too honest. I hesitated, then told the truth. Maybe I could have, I admitted, if things were different, if she wasn't who she is to you, if the situation wasn't so twisted. He nodded slowly. I thought so, he murmured. I could see it. That hurt even more. I whispered, But it doesn't matter now. He let out a breath that sounded like relief and pain mixed together. No, he agreed softly. It doesn't. He stood up, grabbed the suitcase, and walked toward the door. I'll give you some time, he said. Call me when you're ready, for anything. He opened the door, but before he stepped out, he turned back. And Mark, I'm proud of you. Even now, even in this mess, you handled it better than I ever could have at your age. And then he left. The house felt too big, too empty, too quiet. I sat at the kitchen table long after the sound of his footsteps faded. Eventually, I checked my phone. No new messages from my dad. One unsent draft from me to Emily. And one new notification I hadn't expected at all. Emily, I'm going to stay with my sister for a while. I won't contact you unless you want me to. But I need you to know something. Your dad loves you more than anything. He's hurting, Mark. Take care of him. Take care of yourself. I'm sorry for all of it. Truly, goodbye. Goodbye. Final, heavy, real. I put the phone down and let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for days. Maybe this story didn't have a clean ending. Maybe it wasn't supposed to. But for the first time since everything exploded, I finally felt like I could breathe. The next few days passed in a strange, heavy blur. No explosions, no fights, no unexpected texts. Just an uncomfortable, echoing quiet. The kind where every sound feels too loud because you're stuck with your own thoughts. I went to work. I came home. I slept. I woke up tired. My dad didn't call. I didn't call him either. We weren't avoiding each other out of anger anymore. It was just fear. Fear of making it worse. Fear of reopening something that was still bleeding. I kept thinking about Emily's final message. Goodbye. I didn't know if she meant forever or just for now. But maybe it didn't matter. Maybe some people step into your life only long enough to rearrange everything you thought you knew, and then step out again. On the fourth night, I finally broke. I texted my dad. Can we talk? He answered in minutes. Come to the motel lobby, room 108. I drove there before I could chicken out. My stomach twisted the whole way. When I knocked, the door opened almost instantly. My dad looked exhausted, like he'd aged years and days. But when he saw me, something in his face loosened, softened. Hey, he said, voice quiet. Hey. We stood awkwardly for a second, then he gestured for me to come inside. The room was small, cluttered with takeout containers and half-packed bags. Looks like hell, I said with a weak smile. He laughed under his breath. Feels like it. We sat on opposite beds, facing each other. For the first time in what felt like forever, we talked, really talked, about the marriage, the separation, the fear he carried, the mistakes he made, the mistakes he thought he made, the ways he felt unworthy after my mom left, the way he convinced himself Emily deserved someone better, the way he sabotaged things without realizing it. He was raw, honest, human. And I finally saw not just my dad, but the man behind all the walls I never knew he had. I didn't hide the marriage because I didn't trust you, he said. I hid it because I didn't trust myself. I swallowed hard. I wish you had told me. I know, he whispered, and I'm sorry. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said, You're still my dad. Nothing changes that. His eyes watered instantly. He didn't cry, he never did. But the shimmer was enough. Thank you, he whispered. We sat in silence again, but this time it wasn't painful. Just real. After a moment, he asked almost cautiously, Did you want something to happen with Emily? I shook my head immediately. No, not now, not after everything. I don't even know what I felt. Maybe nothing real, maybe just connection in the middle of chaos. He nodded slowly. And her? She's staying away, I said. For good, I think. He stared down at his hands, thinking deeply, maybe grieving, maybe relieved. I hope she finds happiness, he said quietly. I think she hopes the same for us. We shared a small, tired smile, and then something happened that I didn't expect. He moved to the other bed and pulled me into a hug. A real one, a rare one, one that said everything words couldn't. "I'm proud of you," he murmured again. "Even in this mess, especially in this mess." I closed my eyes. "Me too," I said. "I'm proud of you too." We stayed like that for a moment, two people who had walked through something unbearably strange and painful and personal, and somehow came out the other side still standing, still family, still us. A week later, my dad came home, not with a suitcase, not with baggage, just with a willingness to start over. We set new rules, new honesty, new conversations. We talked more in those days than we had in years. Emily never reached out again. I didn't either. Some endings don't need epilogues. They just need peace. And slowly, the world fell back into place. Not the same as before, but maybe a little wiser, a little softer, a little better. Sometimes life throws you into a story you never asked to be part of. One that feels twisted, impossible, unreal. But sometimes those stories force you to confront truths you've been avoiding. About love, about honesty, about fear, about family. And sometimes the real ending isn't about getting the girl, or fixing the past, or tying everything neatly together. Sometimes the real ending is learning how to start again. And that's what we did. We started again. Together.